This is Dory McCafferty from Holistic Wellness from Within, and I'm super excited to share this amazing retest I have from a client that I've been working with since 2024, 2 years ago. And he is a male, he is 40 years old. I did ask for permission to share this information. I just want to tell you that I want to give you all a word of encouragement that when you stick with your program, these are kind of the kind of things you can see. Our bodies heal at different rates. All this time I've been working with him, he's seen very slow but steady progress. But sometimes that can be very discouraging. You're wanting to see big things, you're wanting to see metals dumping, and nothing seems to be moving. All of a sudden, on this test, the eighth test, so he had one original test and then seven retests. This is his number eight test. He had this amazing breakthrough. I don't know when that's going to come for clients, but a lot of you drop out of the program before you get to this point. So stick with your programs. I also want to mention that he was on the Valence nutraceutical supplements. That's what he wanted to take. That's what he was on. I do give my clients that choice. And the protocols that I give them, I look at how well they're following different protocols. I do collect a little larger of a retest information page so I can really get into what the client is and isn't doing. So it helps me understand why things are moving. So I can tell you that he is doing the same things he's been doing all along. He didn't do something magical to get these results. He just got to the point where his body really responded in a big way. Now, not everybody's going to see this big, gigantic response, but you are going to see improvements. And many times you are going to finally see what we're going to look at right now. On this report, the only thing I'm pointing out and the only notes I have on here are notes I want to share with you in this testimonial. I shared way more information with him to give him a complete update. But over here, you're going to see that he is in a 4x settling down on the first pattern. Now, in his last test, he was already in a 3x settling down pattern, and his body went into even a deeper settling down pattern. Many times when that happens, metals don't move, but in a minute, you're going to see that wasn't the case with his test. So he had really nice changes in the magnesium, sodium, and potassium, all again moving down a bit, but this is fine. And it was a really great settling down pattern. Now, ironically, this is kind of unique. He had a 4x coming alive pattern on the second set, the iron, copper, manganese, and zinc. That is a little unique. I don't see that very often. But in spite of the fact his body was settling down, it did begin to dump a lot of metals. We're going to look at that again in detail in just a minute. Now, he did go from being in almost extremely fast oxidation to mild fast, which is amazing. Sometimes when you do dump metals as much as he did, in a great amounts like he did, you will actually speed up a little bit. But his body managed to slow down on the program and still dump metals nicely. He decreased his burnout from a 6 to a 2, and he has 13 underlying joy patterns. These are indicators the body's healing, even if you don't feel or see or think you're healing, which is why I always share joy patterns with my clients. Now, I share them. I told him what all 13 of those patterns were, but I'm just summarizing this for you. And I just wanted to point out that 13 is a really big number. So a lot of signs right here that his body's doing healing. When we get over to look at what he's dumping, his iron went from being very poor into dumping right here and dumping quite a bit of iron at 9.5. His manganese was poor and armoring, and it went into dumping as well. We also see that he's dumping arsenic. Now, arsenic only dumped a little bit. It was dumping before at 0.005, or it actually had dumped off, and it's now dumping just a bit. And then we see the aluminum is dumping quite a bit. It had also dumped off on the previous test. It was down to 0.041. It's all the way up to 7.32. And then I had to circle this nickel. It was actually armoring and in very poor elimination at 0.006. He is now dumping 1.896. You read that right. He's dumping that. He even went back and looked at the toxic sources and symptoms activity on my webpage to make sure that he wasn't under some ongoing exposure to nickel. looking at the sources of nickel exposure, and he didn't find any. And he felt great during, or well, I think he put, I'm not sure. I don't have the retest form here, but he did not have a lot of detox symptoms. There were not a lot of complaints. I think he had one symptom checked. So I am so happy to see all this metal dumping. His body's handling it very well. Now, he did use a little bit of the BioGuard from Valence Nutraceuticals. Now, you need to talk to your practitioner if you're going to use that and get the dosage right, but he did use some of that. It could be why his symptoms weren't severe as well. So, looking also at the other metals that weren't dumping, they were coming up. Copper moved up. Now, it's still very poor, and it was armoring before in a very poor number, and now it's coming up. It's only moved a bit, but it did come up. He had lead, which was very poor, move into poor elimination and come up. He had mercury, which was poor, also armoring, move a little bit upward, and it remained poor, but it did move up. And cadmium moved just one number, but when cadmium moves at all, we should really celebrate that. And it did move into poor elimination as well. He was dumping all three of the additional elements, the cobalt, moly, and lithium. And then finally, we see down here that he had 5 out of the 6 ratios improve. A little bit of an increase in the adrenal activity here, where it did move from 5.22 up into 7.50. So it's slightly elevated, but he had calcium to magnesium and calcium to potassium move within an actually good range. So that is really, really, or actually calcium to phosphorus, sorry, calcium to phosphorus down here, moved to within a good range. So that's really great. And then the other 4 still moved in the right direction. So look, you guys, I can't tell you, and neither can your practitioner, when or how your body's going to heal. It is somewhat dependent on how well you follow the program, but also I always tell people that a good attitude is as important as following every single jot and tittle of your program. You really need to feel good about yourself, and you really need to be working with your practitioner to understand your results. Know your body will heal. Know it may take time, but don't quit testing, because I always wonder, what if he had not gotten this 8th test? And the last test I saw was that 7th test. That would have been really disappointing. I'm so happy that he has stuck with this program, that he trusted it, that he worked with it, and you all can do the same. So if you're due to retest, please make sure you do. If you have any questions, contact me, and I'd be glad to either work with you or get your programs updated. Thanks for listening from Holistic Wellness from Within.